Alright, so here's my hopefully quick recap of Smackdown for August 28th, 2018. Obviously, I'm a couple days behind. I was trying to watch it on Tuesday, but I got caught up doing something else. And then last night, I was trying to finish it up. And then I got caught up doing something else. So here's my chance to give my recap and thoughts on the episode of SmackDown. It wasn't a bad show. Actually, it was pretty entertaining. The 2 hours went by relatively quickly, and I have to believe that SmackDown is actually a better show simply because of the shorter timeline, and they just I think they have a little bit more freedom than Raw. So anyway, so we're in Toronto again. We had Raw in Toronto on Monday, and I guess they wanted to be in Toronto for 2 days, which is perfectly fine. They're a nice, hot crowd, maybe the same people from Raw, or maybe a new crowd. And we open up with the New Day coming out and doing their thing, throwing out the pancakes, and I swear I thought I saw a pancake or two go into the second row or second tier rafters. They really try and toss those things pretty far. Um, so they get to chatting, and I thought it was funny that Big E was wearing one of the belts, even though he technically was the one that wasn't one of the ones that won. I figured Xavier and Kofi would be wearing them, but whatever. So anyway, they start, and I thought it was interesting that Xavier Woods mentions Dragon Con, and for those of you that don't know, Xavier Woods is from Atlanta, which is where I'm from, and Dragon Con is a annual sci-fi convention that's been going on for the past 20 some odd years. It's a huge, huge event. I would say probably as big as San Diego Comic Con, just doesn't have the same level of media attention. But it goes on for days. You see, everybody doing cosplaying. It starts like on the Thursday all the way to Sunday. You see a million slave Leias. They do a parade and everything. It's a pretty cool event. So for those of you that haven't heard about it, that's exactly what it is. And I guess Xavier Woods will be there in some way, shape, or form. Personally, I've never been, simply because I've been to the parade once. That's because my daughters were involved in it. But other than that, I try my best to. It's a crazy environment, crazy insane environment, and maybe one day I'll go um, and show clips to you guys. But this year I'll be at home watching the real videos on YouTube, just like the rest of you. Anyway, back to the show. So they get to talking about how they're the five-time um, tag team world champions, and sure enough, who comes out? King Booker T. Now, it was kind of obvious that they were referring to Booker T because every time Booker T talks about himself being a world champion, he mentions he's a five-time world champion. So you kind of got the reference, but I didn't expect Booker T to come out, and sure enough, he does. And the crowd goes nuts, and they come on and do a nice little skit where King Booker calls one of he calls Xavier Xavier the Wise, and he calls Kofi the Brave, and then he just calls Big E, and of course Big E doesn't like that. It's kind of funny. And then after all that's over, Booker T does the spinneroonie. And then everybody else kind of tries to do the same. Of course, Big E, being as big as he is and not as flexible, needs a little help. As far as that skit goes, it was mildly entertaining. You get a nice little chuckle. Uh, but you're ready to. Sorry about that. You're ready to move on and do some, watch some real wrestling. But it was, like I said, it was a fun little skit. Need to move on. So after that, I'll probably be a little bit out of order here because I didn't have a chance to write notes. Like I said, I had to watch the show in bits and pieces. So next time I'll try and be a little bit linear as far as the show goes, but I'll go by memory here. So I think the next part is we had a tag team match, three-way tag team match between the Bar, the Colognes, which we haven't seen in who knows how long, um, and then the Good Brothers. Not exactly sure. Um, I guess there's a tag team title contenders match. Uh, this match really didn't do anything for me because it was obvious the Bar was going to win here. And I mean, like I said, the Colognes, we hadn't seen them in goodness gracious months. In fact, I think my son was watching it, and first thing out of his mouth was, "I didn't realize they were still in the WWE," and I had the same thought as well. So the Bar wins, and we move on. Next, we have Jeff Hardy comes out. He's all face painted up, and if you happen to notice, the side of his face said RKO, and he comes out and you know yells at Randy Orton, and then we find out that they're gonna have a Hell in a Cell match. Um, I wish I was more involved between these two. Obviously, Randy came out and weeks ago and beat the hell out of Jeff, and then on SummerSlam he comes down and then turns around and walks away, which made no sense. I wonder if there was something going on behind the scenes there because I was expecting a lot more. And then last week we had Jeff Hardy obviously beat the hell out of Randy Orton, so they're actually setting up a storyline here. But for some reason I'm just not feeling it. And maybe it's just me. You can tell me if you guys are really enjoying the storyline or not. Um, and then in a few weeks they'll be in Hell in a Cell. Maybe by that time I'll be into it. But at this point I'm not really not into it. Okay, so next I have to say is probably the lowest part of SmackDown, and that is the iconic chicks. And I hate to use that word, but that's what I think of when I see these two because one, they can't wrestle, and their promo skills are just okay. Um, we had Naomi out there who's a good, solid worker, and we had she lost to one of them last week, and then this week she went against Billie Kay, and I hate to say it, but these girls are sort of like Dana Brooke. They really can wrestle. They throw kicks that are they're just not ready. They should be up there, and I find it interesting how the WWE is pushing the women's revolution, and as they're pushing the women's revolution, and we see quality, performers like Charlotte and Becky and Sasha Banks and um, Bailey, and Asuka, which we haven't seen in forever. I don't know why. But then, they turn around and give us 10, 15 minutes of the Iconics and Dana Brooke. I think this kind of takes away from the whole women's evolution because these are not good performers. And like I said, even the Iconics promos are just not, they're not really fun. They're kind of boring. Anyway, so needless to say, they go through the moments, they go through their spots, and then Naomi gets hit by the other Iconic, from a kick from the outside, and Billie Kay rolls her up for, a pin, and it's over. And you can just see that was the crappiest match of the night. I have to give it, 0 stars, because it sucks. It wasn't even worth going to the bathroom for. You just, if you're watching on a DVR, you just fast forward through it and move on. Okay, so after that, I think what we had here was pretty much the match of the night. And I wish they ended it a little bit differently, but I really enjoyed myself. And so we have Daniel Bryan come out, and he talks about the Miz and whatever. That right there is boring. But then Almas and Selena Vega come out, and they say, "Hey, we want a match. We want we want a match right now. And I guess either Paige or Daniel Bryan said, okay, let's do it. And, with Andrade Cien Almas and Daniel Bryan, you're going to get a good, high quality match. And I have to say, I really, really enjoyed watching these two perform. I think the WWE is understanding just how talented Andrade Almas is, and I think they're trying their very best to give him the opportunity to give him high quality matches. Because he's only been there for a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, but they've put him in good opportunities. This week with Daniel Bryan, a couple of weeks ago with AJ Styles. He even had a decent match with Sin Cara on Smackdown. So anyway, this was one that disappointed. I have to say the only thing that disappointed me here was the Miz came down and Maurice came down, and they came down to a huge pop from the crowd, which almost gave me the impression that the crowd liked the Miz and Maurice more than Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. Maybe. I have to say I enjoyed them coming out. So eventually they interfere and then cause a disqualification for Daniel Bryan to win. But sorry. What I would have preferred is in some way, shape, or form to have Andrade take the win, because if Miz and Maurice interfere and Andrade gets the win, that does not hurt Daniel Bryan at all, but it boosts up Andrade up even more because it's a win he gets without. I don't know. To me, it just would have put him a little bit higher on the pecking order there. It would have given him a win because he keeps having quality matches, but they end up either loses or it doesn't work out in his favor. So I was hoping he would have gotten a win there. Anyway, that's just me. You can tell me your thoughts on that one. But after the disqualification, Miz and Maurice proceed to put the beat down on Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella, as well as Andrade and Zelina Vega. They do all their spots on Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan, and that was actually the crowd was really into it, and I have to say I was into it as well. So these guys make good heels, and it was very enjoyable. Then after that we have AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, comes out and talks about, hey, stop talking about my family, to Samoa Joe, and that's whatever it is. And next we see Samoa Joe, who's out in the parking lot. He gets on his phone and says, hey, Wendy, blah blah blah. That was really a waste of time. We need to move on from there. So AJ Styles runs out to the back. Of course, Samoa Joe is gone. I mean, it was a pure waste of a segment. It did absolutely nothing. I'm not a huge fan of this whole AJ Styles, Samoa Joe family thing. Where do you really go with that? Other than show up at AJ Styles' house? I'm not a big. It just doesn't. I don't understand where they're going. It doesn't. It just bothers me. They could have done something a little bit better here. And I hope they, after Hell in a Cell or whatever, they drop it and move on. So we have an interview with Charlotte Flair, and she goes into this, hey, I'm not sorry for, taking the title. I deserve it. This is not a nice world, and the winners are the ones who go out there and take it, and blah blah blah. Which, she kind of has a point. If you want to, move on in this world, you got to go out there and, give out your hardest. And she has a rematch with Carmella. And it's actually not a bad match. Carmella was one of those who obviously wasn't signed on to be a wrestler at first, but she's turned into a wrestler, and she's actually turned into a halfway decent one. She's learned how to do her spots and do them well. Obviously, Charlotte has to do a lot of work with her, but Carmella's been getting better and better each and every single time. Like I said, the match wasn't too bad. And then, of course, Charlotte wins and gets I think she gets a submission. And, while she's standing there, celebrating her win, Becky Lynch comes out and just starts putting the wailing on her, of course. And then she has to, she gets on the mic and she goes, "I'm taking the title at Hell in a Cell, you bitch." That was, I have to say that. I don't like, and the funniest part about it is the crowd. I don't know if the crowd was really into heels, or if the crowd just likes, the people that are just doing the wrong things here. But the crowd, and I'm the kind of the same way. I'm actually rooting for Becky here. We're kind of phasing as an audience to liking the bad guy, or I don't know. I find the Miz and Maurice more entertaining. I am finding, I don't know. It is what it is. But I have to say, I did enjoy that spot, and sure enough, the show closes that way. So, like I said, the 2 hours went by relatively quickly, and it ended on a very high note with, like I said, with Becky Lynch over Charlotte, and that's actually a pretty decent storyline going on there, and I'm really invested in seeing how this goes at Hell in a Cell in a few weeks. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents on SmackDown for August 28th. Just want to get your thoughts on SmackDown and see if you liked it or if you didn't like it. Let me know. Post in the comments below. I like talking with you guys. Did you find the show entertaining or boring, or did you just not watch it at all? Let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.